The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Thakron of the Velkar Dominion rose from his seat, his 6 eyes blazing with barely contained fury. For 300 cycles, the Council had maintained peace across 47 star systems, yet today, a single human's action threatened to shatter everything. The matter before us, Thakron's voice rumbled through the translators, concerns Commander Jace Thalen of Earth. His violation of Protocol 17 demands immediate judgment. Council members shifted uncomfortably. The incident had occurred 6 months ago, but the reverberations still echoed through every diplomatic channel. On one side sat the Velkar delegation, their crystalline armor reflecting the chamber's soft light. On the other, a smaller human contingent, led by Ambassador Marcus Way, who wore the calm expression his species had perfected during their brief but turbulent introduction to galactic society. High Arbiter Zenthal, a being of pure energy contained within a quantum field, materialized at the chamber's center. Let us review the facts without prejudice. Commander Thalen, please stand. Jace Thalen rose from the human section. He was a career soldier, 42 Earth years with the scars and steady demeanor to prove it. His uniform bore the marks of a decorated officer, though the medals felt heavier now than they ever had. His jaw was set, his eyes forward, facing judgment as he'd faced every battle, head-on. 6 months ago, Zenthal began, your unit engaged in peacekeeping operations near the Velkar border territories. You were ordered to maintain position. Yet you abandoned your post. Explain. Jace's voice was rough, weathered by years of command. We heard weapons fire. Close. Too close to be the main engagement. I took 3 soldiers and investigated. Thakron slammed his primary appendage against his console. He had no authority in an active combat zone. No jurisdiction beyond his orders. Let him finish, Zenthal commanded. Jace continued. We found a downed Velkar transport. Burning. 2 warriors were already gone, nothing we could do for them. But in the wreckage, his voice tightened. There was a cub. Couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 cycles old. Trapped under debris, plasma burns across half his body. He was trying not to cry out, trying to die with honor, I figured out later. The chamber knew what came next, but Zenthal asked anyway. What did you do? I pulled him out. My medic said the cub wouldn't survive our treatments. Velkar physiology is too different. They need crystalline regeneration chambers. We didn't have one. Jace's hands clenched at his sides, but we had a stasis pod back at base. I made the call. Carried that cub 3 kilometers through hostile territory, put him in stasis and commandeered a transport to the nearest Velkar outpost. Violating direct orders, Thakron interjected. Abandoning your unit. Crossing into Velkar sovereign space without authorization during an active conflict. You could have started an interstellar incident. I could have let a child burn to death, Jace shot back, his soldiers' discipline cracking for just a moment. The chamber erupted. Half the council members voiced approval. The other half demanded order. The Velkar delegation stood as one, a wall of crystalline fury. The human section remained seated, but their ambassador's jaw was set like iron. Zenthal restored silence with a pulse of energy that dimmed every light. Thakron, the cub survived. Your physicians confirmed Commander Thalen's actions preserved his life. That is not the point. Thakron's voice carried centuries of cultural weight. The cub was Saren, son of Alpha Rakor, war leader of the Velkar Third Fleet. In our society, a warrior's wounded offspring must face their fate with honor. To interfere is to question the Alpha's strength. To suggest his bloodline requires alien mercy. It is the gravest insult our people recognize. Ambassador Way stood. With respect, Arbiter. The Velkar have never formally explained this custom to the Council. How was Commander Thalen to know? Ignorance is not innocence, Thakron countered. Humans have been part of this council for 5 years. Sufficient time to learn our ways. Sufficient time to learn you let children die for honor? Jace's voice was quiet, but cut through the chamber like a blade. The silence that followed was absolute. Zenthal floated closer to Jace. You understand the Velkar position now? I understand a culture that values pride over life, Jace replied. I also understand that I've buried too many soldiers, too many kids who never got to grow up, to stand by and watch another one die when I could do something about it. Council charter or no council charter, you speak of duty, Thakron said, his tone suddenly cold and formal. But you know nothing of true strength. Velkar have survived for 50,000 years because we do not coddle weakness. Every alpha must know their offspring can endure the crucible. It is not cruelty. It is the foundation of our entire civilization. It's murder dressed up in philosophy, Jace said quietly. I've seen enough of that to last a lifetime. The human section gasped. Even Ambassador Wei paled. No one spoke to a Velkar Alpha's representative that way. But Thakron didn't explode with rage. Instead, he did something unexpected. He laughed, a crystalline, chiming sound that sent shivers through every being present. You are bold, human. Perhaps foolishly so. He turned to address the entire council. But there is something you all should know. Alpha Rakor himself has demanded to address this council regarding this matter. A holographic projection materialized. The Alpha was massive, even by Velkar standards. His crystalline form etched with battle scars that glowed with inner fire. His presence dominated the chamber. This was a warrior who had commanded fleets, who had carved his authority from 1,000 victories. Council, Alpha Rakor's voice was like grinding mountains. For 6 months I have wrestled with this human's actions. By our law, he insulted my honor. By our tradition, he interfered with Saren's trial by fire. Many of my warriors demand his punishment. Some call for blood debt. He paused, and his 6 eyes focused on Jace. But Saren lives. And when I held my son again, when I heard him speak of the alien soldier who shielded him with his own body during an artillery strike, who carried him through fire, who spoke words in a language Saren could not understand, words my translators later identified as, "Stay with me, kid. You're not dying today." I faced a question no Alpha has confronted in 1,000 generations. The chamber waited, breathless. What is strength? Rakor continued. Is it letting my son die to prove my bloodline needs no help? Is it maintaining tradition even when tradition demands the death of my heir? His form seemed to shimmer with emotion. Commander Jace Thalen showed my son mercy when our customs would have shown him only fate. This human defied his own orders, risked his career, crossed into enemy territory during active combat. For a child of a species that has shown humanity nothing but suspicion and hostility. He turned to Thakron. My advisor speaks for many Velkar. They say to accept this human's mercy dishonors our entire people. But I am Alpha, and I say this. Dishonor is letting pride blind us to what humans call compassion. Perhaps that is their true weapon. They have not survived 50,000 years like us, but in their brief, violent centuries, they have learned something we have forgotten in all our strength. Thakron stood rigid, his crystalline form flickering with internal conflict. The council, Rakor declared, is split because you fear precedent. You fear that mercy might unravel the traditions that bind us. But I have decided. He looked directly at Jace. Commander Thalen, my son lives because you saw a child in pain, not a political obstacle, not an enemy. Just a child. The Velkar Dominion withdraws all charges. More, I personally propose that humans be granted emergency jurisdiction in neutral zones for humanitarian intervention. The chamber exploded in debate. Delegates shouted over one another. The Velkar delegation fractured before everyone's eyes, some standing with Thakron in rigid opposition, others moving toward the center, toward compromise. It would take months to resolve, years perhaps. The council would remain split, divided between those who saw Thalen's actions as dangerous precedent and those who saw them as evolution. But as Jace Thalen sat down, he felt the weight of those medals on his chest differently now. Not heavier, lighter somehow. Ambassador Wei leaned over. You just changed galactic law, Commander. Or broke it. History hasn't decided which yet. Jace allowed himself the smallest smile. I just did what any decent soldier would do, sir. I brought a kid home. Humanity had been in the stars for only 5 years, but today they had changed them forever. Not with weapons or superior technology, but with something far more powerful. The simple, radical belief that some things matter more than rules. That mercy isn't weakness. It's the hardest kind of strength. And in the corner of the chamber, on a secure Velkar channel, young Saren watched the proceedings beside his father, his crystalline form still showing faint scars from that day on the battlefield. He remembered the human commander's face. His words in a language Saren didn't speak. Stay with me, kid. You're not dying today. And he understood, perhaps better than any adult in that chamber, that mercy was not a human weakness. It was their greatest weapon, and now it was spreading. The galaxy would never be the same.